Greetings, one and all. Normally I don't respond to videos I see here on YouTube because really I'm not all that convinced that people care what other people think about what they say. In other words, this video message is a response to Converted to Islam's posting on the Gnostic Gospels, and specifically the Gospel of Peter. And what the Muslim is done here in this video is essentially tried to make the connection that the Gnostic Gospels are a better reflection and a more accurate depiction of early Christian beliefs. In fact, the Muslim here is bold enough, has the audacity to say that he only does research into Christian beliefs for the benefit of Christians because his Quran is the Word of God. That's a bold statement that will require a video at some point, many videos. If you go to my channel, in fact, you'll see that I have I'm beginning to develop some videos myself on the Quran and some of the things that people do know and should know more about. But specifically, what the Muslim does here is this guy says that the Gnostic Gospel of Peter is a better depiction or better reflection of early Christian belief. And I'm not going to talk about the non-canonical aspects of the Gospel. I'm not going to talk about whether or not it was written in 70 A.D. or 150 A.D. or what some of the theories around it are. I'm just going to talk about the text itself. Now, in the video, you may not remember, but in the video, the Muslim here says that that the Gnostic Gospel of Peter does not have the death or crucifixion of Jesus. And it says that in verse 19, the Muslim cites verse 19 and says that Jesus was taken up. Well, what this Muslim doesn't do is talk about the rest of what the Gospel of Peter says. Okay, so let's talk about this here. The Muslim properly says that in verse 19, the Lord screamed out, saying, "Oh, my power, you have forsaken me." Okay, this is almost identical. It's almost parallel to the Gospel message itself, to the canonical Gospels. I don't have a problem with it. And having said this, he was taken up. The canonical Gospel says, and having said this, he gave up his ghost. This verse is not a repudiation of the canonical Gospels, nor does it support the Islamic view of Jesus escaping the crucifixion. But the Muslim here in this video tries to draw that connection. That's the exact implication he makes, is that Jesus wasn't crucified. If you study the Gospel of Peter, the rest of it, and it's a very short Gospel, it's only got a few dozen verses, you see that in verse 21, the apostles, drew the nails out of the hands of the Lord and placed him on the earth after his body came off the cross. Christians don't have a problem with that. His body came off the cross. Okay? In verse 23, the Jews rejoiced at him being dead, and they gave his body to Joseph that he might bury it. And in verse 24 it says, "And having taken the Lord," he, meaning Joseph, "washed and tied him with a linen cloth, and brought him into his own sepulchre, called the Garden of Joseph." So how is this gospel consistent with the Islamic view on Jesus? This is almost identical, it's almost parallel to the canonical Gospels. In fact, the reason why it was rejected was it was just written far too late. So not only does the Gospel of Peter here have Jesus being crucified, it has him being dead, wrapped in a linen cloth and buried in a tomb. Okay? So this Gospel is not consistent with the Quran, although the Quran does borrow from the Gnostic traditions. Okay, now if we go further down in the Gospel, we see in verses 55 to 57 the resurrection. I'm not going to quote the whole thing, but there's 3 verses here if you're interested. If you're interested, I suggest Raymond Brown's translation is a good translation. It's very easy to read. And it has the resurrection. So this gospel, though non-canonical, is totally consistent with the message of the canon. This does not repudiate early Christian belief. It doesn't change the canon. It doesn't even contradict the canon. It's just not as complete as the canonical Gospels, and it was probably written much, much later. So anyway, I just wanted to do this quick video to respond to this converted to Islam guy and correct him on some of his mistakes. Thanks. Oh, by the way, I also wanted to add a quick note. What is Docetism and Docetians? Do you mean Docetism and Docetists?